Welcome to Atlanta Mix 108. Up next is Author Talk with your host, M.L.Ruscsak.
Last year was crazy without you. Not a day went by that I didn't think about you. I miss you so much, my love.
I'm ready for your love, don't wanna waste your time. It's you I want forever, and forever's a long time. I'm ready for your love, I wanna spend my time with you and no one else until the end of time. Cause I'm ready for your love, don't wanna waste your time. It's you I want forever, and forever's a long time. Cause I'm ready for your love, I wanna spend my time with you and no one else until the end of time. I'm ready for your love.
Morning.
Hey.
What's wrong?
I've just been thinking lately, there's this girl, that I like, but, my homies, they're telling me, basically, to do my own thing.
You don't listen to anyone. You listen to your heart. Do what sets your soul on fire. Don't listen to them.
I can't believe that you really made me stop pitching. And though I think about it, yeah, it got me tripping. And now I'm having visions of you and me forever. They say it's locked down, I say it makes me better. My boo gon' love this, homies gon' think it's cheesy, but I'm still in the hood, and I'm still talking greasy. I just found something real, someone that I could chill without no problems, no drama, someone I really feel. What was this man without you? See, you became my world. You sexy lady, drive me crazy, you my favorite girl. No more wildin' with the homies and hanging in the clubs, cause God sent me an angel, yeah, sent from above.
I'm ready for your love, don't wanna waste your time. It's you I want forever, and forever's a long time. I'm ready for your love, I wanna spend my time with you and no one else until the end of time. Cause I'm ready for your love, don't wanna waste your time. It's you I want forever, and forever's a long time. Cause I'm ready for your love, I wanna spend my time with you and no one else until the end of time. I'm ready for your love.
And now it's been a year, seemed like just yesterday. I scooped you up, gave you a hug, you stole my heart away. I knew I wanted to keep you when you sat down in the seat. No matter of fact, it was when I saw you walking in the street. I told my dude, look at that girl, ain't she a beauty? Pretty face, thin waist, and a nice booty. She had me straight like whoa, she had my heart thumping. Sorta like beats up in the car bumping. I wanted you on my side, saw it no other way. Love was in the air cause it was Valentine's Day. Like where you been all my life when I was in the slums. I want you to be the one, I'm ready for your love, girl.
Don't wanna waste your time. It's you I want forever, and forever's a long time. I'm ready for your love, I wanna spend my time with you and no one else until the end of time. Cause I'm ready for your love, don't wanna waste your time. It's you I want forever, and forever's a long time. Cause I'm ready for your love, I wanna spend my time with you and no one else until the end of time. I'm ready for your love. I'm ready for your love.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you that you're so beautiful, you're so amazing, and I'm so glad you came into my life, girl. Yeah.
Just when I think I can learn to love one, I imagine myself all alone and you're gone. I'm ready for your love, don't wanna waste your time. It's you I want forever, and forever's a long time. I'm ready for your love, I wanna spend my time with you and no one else until the end of time. Cause I'm ready for your love, don't wanna waste your time. It's you I want forever, and forever's a long time. Cause I'm ready for your love, I wanna spend my time with you and no one else until the end of time. I'm ready for your love.
Welcome, Atlanta, to another wonderful episode of Author Talk. I'm your host, M.L.Ruscsak. I'm here with my special guest, Joy Hearn. Welcome.
Good morning. Welcome. Well, actually, good afternoon.
Yeah, good morning or afternoon, evening. It all depends on if they're just waking up and going to work or if they are off work and getting ready to go to bed.
Awesome. Thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. Now, we have your wonderful book that's entitled Stop Thinking, Keep Moving. And this is meant to be inspirational. Is that correct?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. I wrote the book, we're living in a time where there's just so much negativity around, and a lot of people are suffering from depression and other things. So I actually wrote the book just kind of detailing my own journey and how I got away from negative thinking and brought the peace in my own personal storm that I was facing.
Now, see, we have a similar background. You went through about 7 years of depression, according to your bio. I went through about 14.
Oh, gosh. Wow.
Yeah, See, mine started actually in school, and it didn't end really until here recently, which is really sad.
Wow. Well, I'm glad that it ended. For me, my problem in life was I hate to say it, but I'll admit it. I'm the girl who was used to everything going her way. Everything always worked for me, which is catastrophic when you think about it, right? Because you're not used to disappointment. You're not used to getting told no. So when I found myself in a situation where life hit me, and it really hit me, I had no idea what to do. And I just sunk into this dark place and just embraced this negative thinking and really thinking like, well, this is it. This is the way that life is supposed to be. And it just made me so angry. I wasn't a good person. Yeah.
Well, anymore in the schools, it starts there. You have the teachers, instead of saying, not everyone can make the team, not everyone can get a trophy or an award, everyone gets something. So when they get into the real world, life is thrown at them, and they're not prepared anymore.
Totally. And that's something I wish that we as a society wouldn't embrace. We have to teach people that it's okay to fail, right? Because when you grow up in the bubble like I did, it's, the whole Disney thing, the whole happily ever after. Everything works out. Everything's going to go your way. And then when you find out that that's really not the way life works, you find yourself just in total chaos and darkness, and that is the most dangerous place to be.
Right. They tell kids, oh, don't worry, go to college, you have a guaranteed job. No, nothing in life is guaranteed. And the sooner we embrace that and start teaching, yes, not everyone succeeds. Yes, there is failure. And yes, it is okay to fail at some point because it makes you stronger. Then we'll be able to work past a lot of things.
Absolutely. It's so interesting that you say that. I actually kind of wrote about just that whole, that specific guide that you're given in life. Oh, go to college, and this is the way it's going to work out, and you're going to get a good job. And I actually talk about that in the book a little bit because I stayed on that plan. You go to college, you get education, you're supposed to get a good job, and I went to college. I got a good job, and then right in the height of the great or second great, whatever you want to call it, recession that we experienced, everything came crashing down on me, and I had no idea what to do, because it's just like, oh, well, this is what you're supposed to do, but nobody tells you what you're supposed to do to keep your sanity when that stuff comes upon you.
Yeah, it's very confusing, especially when you have a plan in your head. I got straight A's in high school. I have a great college lined up. I passed college. Get this great job. You don't expect the unexpected. It could be anything from the company's downsizing to a life-changing health event. But you don't prepare for it because we're not taught to prepare for it.
You just basically sold the dream, and that's exactly what happened for me. I, hit the world thinking that this was okay, that because I'd followed this path, now I'm on my happily ever after for the rest of my life. I never thought for a second. I was always told, for instance, I worked for a local government institution in the city, and I had been told for years, just get that job and everybody makes it there. Well, nobody told me that, in times of financial crisis, that the guaranteed good job could actually trim your wages, cut your wages, that even though that you guys had union representation and things like that, that you could still be laid off. Nobody said those things to me, and we actually, my husband and I, he faced job loss and I faced wage loss. So all at once, it literally one day we were doing fine, and then the next day, boom. And we were in that state for probably about a good 3.5 years. And it cut me to the core. I had no idea what to do. And that, feelings of inadequacy surfaced, and I'm not good enough. I must have done something wrong. I hate my life. Even a couple periods, I want to die. I just want to die. I want to get this over with. I have no value. I failed. And I carried that with me for so long. And you've experienced it. It's torment day in and day out, and it feels like there's no escape from it whatsoever. And the day that I finally got out of it truly was the day that my life changed and I got set free.
See, I found with my personal journey, it took me going through a life-changing medical crisis to actually find myself being freed, because then I didn't have the expectations of that happily ever after. The rose-colored goggles were completely off, and I was at ground zero. And you have to build yourself up and go, okay, now what? I have to have an income. It doesn't have to be a great income, but it has to be money to survive.
Right.
And that's just where things started.
And I think the now what, that's fantastic. The now what is so important to your recovery, and we have to be thankful for the now what, because the now what forces you into the moment to make a decision for the better and for you to address this thing head on. Because for me, when we're in the depressed state and we're depressed and we're going through these ups and these downs and these highs and these lows, we're kind of being selective in what we're going to deal with, and we're putting on this front, and day in and day out you kind of get to play with this thing, right? So when the now what hits you, and it hits you, it's like, oh my God, I have to do something. And I can't run from this anymore. I can't ignore this anymore. I have to do something, or something bad is going to happen. And I'm so thankful for the now what. My now what was just literally the low. I have a daughter, and the now what for me hit me. I was crying every day. And my daughter, at 2 years old back then, she could pick up on that something wasn't right. And this little child is trying to comfort this adult, and it hit me like, oh my God, number one, she shouldn't be my counselor. She shouldn't have to worry at 2 years old whether or not mommy's going to be okay. And I did not want to have that influence on her. When she became an adult, she would start to act out in this matter. So that was my now what.
Right.
I have to stop this.
Right. I have at the time I was going through everything, I have an autistic daughter who is forever the age of 9. She's a teenager now, but if you've been around autistic children, they get to a certain age and that's about it. But she was my light, and it was, okay, I have to be here for her. I have to get out of this bed. I have to relearn to walk. I have to relearn to talk. I can't sit here and victimize myself on something, I can't control. But I can change what I can control.
Right. Absolutely. And that's the thing that we have to remember, that in those moments when we feel like, oh, there's nothing we can do and this is just the way things are, you have to come to a point where you can just sit and stop and just say, hey, I'm not able to control the entire world. I'm not able to control the day-to-day things that happen, but the things that I do have control of, I have to grasp on and tackle those things and take full control of those things. And that's what's going to help people get their breakthrough and help them recover and pull them out of the dark places.
Exactly. We can't not control every person, every family member, every situation. We can only control ourselves and what we perceive to be the most important thing in that moment. It could be our job. It could be our electric bill. It could be whatever. But it has to be dealing with our inner circle, not our outer circle that doesn't involve those that doesn't live in the four walls of our house.
Absolutely. And that's where just bringing control of your emotions and your thoughts come into play. That's why it's so important. I literally, from the title of my book one day, I was, and it's crazy, I was in the house and I was going through the low point, because there's highs and there's lows in this whole depression thing. So I was going through one of my lows, and it was just getting crazy, like thought after thought, worry after worry, worry after worry. And I literally just blurted out one day, I said, you know what, just stop. Just stop thinking, keep going. And I began to dissect everything that was happening that day. Could the world end today? Maybe. But if it did, what was I going to do about it? You know, and what was worrying going to do to help me? So what I did that day is I decided to just change the flow of my thoughts, right, to reject those scary thoughts, that negativity, that worry. And it's not an easy thing for you to do, because your brain is so accustomed to being in that zone. Your brain is accustomed to being in the anxious state, right? Because whenever something happens, the initial reaction is, oh, my God, or panic, right? Mm-hmm. So just training myself to really dissect the situation and take hold and take apart the good out of everything, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm having a bad day, but you know what? Tomorrow's another opportunity for me to have a good day. No, things didn't go my way today, but hey, I still have a chance to do better. Right. And it sounds corny when I tell people those things, but believe me, it is a matter of life and death. It'll save your life.
See, that's exactly what I tell people when I'm doing life coaching. You have to take the moment as it is. You can't hold on to yesterday and base today on what happened yesterday, last week, last month, last year, or whatever. You have to base today on today. Yesterday's gone.
Absolutely.
We can't change that.
Absolutely. And we can't move forward being stuck in yesterday, right? Because that's right. Crippling. It's holding you from making your progress. You're not moving anywhere. There's no momentum. You're just literally stuck, and you're revisiting and replaying these scenarios time and time again. And before you know it, you've lost time, you've lost opportunity, and you've really gained nothing out of it.
Exactly. You can spend all of today worrying about what's going to happen 10 years from now or what happened 10 years before this. But it's not going to help you. If you live today for today, yes, tomorrow's coming, plan for it, but don't obsess over it.
Oh, yes. That's key right there. Not obsessing. And that was the worst. That was the bad part for me, because I would run through scenario A through Z. Okay, this could happen. I'm not going to have this. I won't be able to do this. I don't have this resource right now. And it's so funny. I literally obsessed over things that had not taken place.
Exactly.
And it was a cycle for me, day in and day out, day in and day out. And that's what I had to pull myself away from. And when I did, it was like, I'm not going to say it was an instant change, but because it felt instant to me, but things literally started to shift around and move in my life.
Right.
We were in a gang-infested neighborhood out here in Southern California. And my thing was, my hours are cut, my husband's not working, he's lost his job, and it's going to take us at least 10 years to recover from this. And I literally changed when I got into the zone that said, hey, I can't look at the what if. I have to focus on what I can work with now. I literally, in a matter of probably 8 months, changed my entire scenario. And it's just amazing. And we have to realize that that obsession is limiting. It's crippling, it's dangerous, and it keeps you from reaching your full potential.
Exactly. See, I've known people that have lost their job and go, well, I don't have a plan, oh, woe's me, and they go through this, McDonald's is hiring. It's not a job you want, but it's money. Right now you need a paycheck. And then once you get a paycheck, then you can go start planning for, okay, this is what I need to do to get the income that I need to survive.
Right. And for me, when we faced our financial setback, I mean, it was a blow. We went from probably bringing in close to $6,000 a month to bringing in maybe $2,000, and our expenses were closer to about $5,800 a month. So you do the math in that scenario, and it was just, I was in panic mode. Oh my God, what are we going to do? We're going to lose our house, and tackle on living in a bad neighborhood, and you have those outside annoyances just constantly eating at you and disturbing you. It was awful. And so I had to come up with a plan, and in order for me to come up with a plan, I had to be able to focus on a plan. And so that's when I had to drown out the bad. And when I drowned out the bad, and I focused on the things that I could control and the things that I could do, that's when the answers started popping out in front of me. Right. That's when the solutions started coming. But until I got into the mode to where I could eliminate the negativity and the chaos, I couldn't see anything but the bad stuff.
Right.
And I tell people all the time,
a lot of us can't see past the bad to see the solutions that may not seem like solutions. They may seem like a Band-Aid, but they lead to the solutions that we need.
And the universe is always providing those answers to us. But we have to realize that we have to get out of ourselves and get out of our own pity parties and whatever we're dealing with to be able to see them. Because some people, you'll talk to people who have overcome things, and they'll say, hey, the answer was sitting there right in front of my face all along, and I never saw it. And for me, there were so many things for me that I could have pursued to get my way out a long time ago that were just slapping me in my face on a daily basis. But because I was crying every day, because I thought I was cursed, because I thought I was a bad person in a former life and I was getting punished, I couldn't see any of that.
Right. Then we also have those that blame others for their misfortune when all misfortune has a solution. We just have to find it. We can't blame others for our problems. We have to take our responsibility for our problems and then take that next step and find a solution or a Band-Aid that will lead to a solution.
Yeah, and that blame game is extremely dangerous. For me, I was guilty of just being an expert in the blame game. It was everybody else's fault. Yeah, the economy played a factor in it, but what I wasn't really willing to admit was that I had a spending problem. I didn't know how to budget, right? So if it hadn't been for this government and this administration, and if it hadn't been for this recession, I'd be okay. Well, maybe, maybe not, but the truth of the matter was we were bringing in close to $6,000 every month, and even before the recession, we were probably getting down to like 25 cents in our bank account. Whose fault was that? So, you know, we really have to take accountability. And what good is it going to do for you to say, oh, this is your fault? Okay, well, you blame somebody, but still, now what? What are you going to do?
It's up to the person to find their solution. You have to grow up. You put on the grown-up panties and take that next step. You have to look at your finances. You have to look at your spending, and you have to find a solution that works for you.
Absolutely. And it wasn't, you know, and it takes maturity to get to that level. That's another thing, right? To get yourself out of that depressed state, you have to have the maturity to say, hey, what role am I playing in this? Right. Am I having pity parties when I really don't need to? Could I have done better? Can I do better, but do I refuse to do better? Do I play dumb and act like I don't know how to do better? You really have to ask yourself those questions. And the hard part is, a lot of times for me, when we ask ourselves those questions and we find that we're saying yes to those questions, that opens another whole can of worms, because now I have to deal with me. And a lot of times we don't want to deal with ourselves.
No, we want to continue to blame someone else because we don't want to take responsibility for ourselves.
That's right. That's right. And it was a bitter pill for me to swallow. You know, I don't know about your personal journey, but I looked at myself one day and I said, you know what? You really, really have life twisted. You have a lot of things screwed up. You know, everything is not going to go your way every day. You're not entitled to a good day every day. Nobody is supposed to come and rescue you. You're in charge of you. And I hated that. I hated that because that meant I would have to take responsibility. And for a lot of us, I mean, we've got some really irresponsible people walking around this earth. You know, so I had to address that, like, oh, my God, now I have to be responsible. Now I'm in charge of me. And that's scary at first. But when you really address that and you look at yourself and you make those moves to change that, it's like you're going to look back and say, oh, my God, I can't believe that I was walking around like that. But it's also going to make you feel better.
Right. See, I talk to a lot of self-help authors, and we all have the same basis. You have to take responsibility for yourself. But getting there mentally is a challenge, because who wants to take responsibility for yourself when it's so much easier to blame someone else? Or I've had a couple that say, hey, I was making great money doing illegal things. Why did I want to change that? Well, I hit rock bottom, so I had to change. And then they started this journey, and now they're in the same place of taking responsibility for themselves, which is something they didn't want to do 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's that responsibility thing. And one of the things that I tell people, you have to be very careful also when you're trying to take responsibility and you're trying to own up and be responsible for you. You have to be careful of who you have around you, because for me, for so long I was associating with people who everything I did was okay. You know, if I ran a red light and got pulled over, you know what, that cop shouldn't have pulled you over. They should just stop, just stop tripping. Just go somewhere else. You have to be extremely careful who you have telling you things and filling your head with these ideals, because that in itself, that's another thing that can be damaging to you. You have to be willing to separate yourself from any and everything that's going to keep you from taking ownership for yourself. And that's another hard thing for people, too, because they don't want to let go of those things. It's a cushion. It's a comfort for them.
Yeah, they want the friends that tell them, oh, you're fine, you're in the right. But really, are you? And when you start looking at your inner circle, you have to be responsible for yourself and then let go of the negative. Because people that tell you, oh, that cop is tripping or whatever, they're not doing you any favors. And it's hard for us as people to understand that.
Absolutely. And for me, I had to cut toxic friends, toxic family members. I had to do just a total 360 in reorganizing my life and just recognizing, you know what, this isn't good for you. Or don't stay in this person's presence for a long time because their conversation kind of contradicts the road that you're trying to take. It's okay for you to say hi, but keep it at that. Don't engage in anything that's going to drag you back and pull you out of the progress that you've been making. And that's another thing, because we want to be around people. Nobody wants to be alone. We want to be understood. We want to have some type of contact with someone. And those that make us comfortable, you really have to ask yourself, well, why am I comfortable around this person? Are they my yes man? Is everything I do good? Are they willing to tell me when I'm out of line and when I need to take ownership? You really have to ask yourself those questions.
Right, which is I'm so thankful for my husband, because he will call me out on BS quicker than any person I've ever known. But
that's awesome.
Without him, how would I stay grounded? How would I stay on a path that I want to be on instead of in this positive, oh, woe is me path?
Right. And for me, that's crazy that you say that, because my husband, we share the same relationship where he's like, no, you're not supposed to do that. You said you wouldn't do that. But I had to also ask myself that same question. If he wasn't around, would I be willing? Would I be willing to do this for myself? Could I do this for myself? And that's most important. You have to know who you are. You have to know where your strengths are. And you have to know that you're going to be able to hold yourself accountable. Because if not, everything's in vain.
No, there's something you have to do for yourself and some things that you perceive that you need to do for yourself. And it's the wishes or the wants that outweigh the needs, then you need to reevaluate your life.
Right. And, for me, my whole journey, the thing that I'm most proud of is nobody had to force me into it. When the what now happen came, I was able to do that for myself. And just knowing that you're able to pick yourself back up. It's great to have those people who are in your corner. It's great to have those people who really love you and who are your friends. But it's just so awesome knowing that you love yourself enough solely to do this for your own self. And that, at the end of the day, I learned how to love myself. And that was a huge thing. I did not love myself enough when I was in that state to help myself reach my full potential.
Well, I'm glad you're there now. And unfortunately, we don't have any more time to continue this interesting conversation because this has really gone by quickly today. So before I let you go, where can our listeners find you?
Well, the listeners can find me on Twitter at It's Joy Hearn. I'm also on Facebook under the name Joy Hearn. The book Stop Thinking, Keep Moving is currently available on Amazon for them to purchase paperback and also digitally.
Now, I see, if I'm looking right now on Kindle Unlimited, it is for free. So
that's correct.
So if you have Kindle Unlimited, you're going to help yourself by getting this book, really. But for today, Joy, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for having me.
And Alana, good night. Happy reading. And please, if you have Kindle, at the very least, get the book. It's a great read, and I think everyone needs to hear this.